Oh, what's that? Miracles in the distance. Tiebreakers? In Group A? No, it can't be. But it is. Well, hi. This is Vision Denial in our daily sweepers, where I take some dramatic readings of the notes I've done for all of the games so far. And as a pointer note, in some, housekeeping, down below here we'll have some highlights, and the highlights have been have been done by the Vietnamese League and the VCS. Go check out their YouTube channel. They are fantastic. They make great content. It's all goodness. It's all good stuff. All of it is. But we've got some exciting, tantalizing, exhilarating, surprising, and some expected games that played out today. And honestly, if you got the chance to watch these, and I would recommend watching most of these games, what did you think? Did you expect the way this handed out? How many of your pick'ems got destroyed? Mine were done by my fiance, who rightfully guessed the two teams that were going to qualify to quarters. The chaotic energy lives through them like a vessel for the gods. That being said, instead of just being super vague about it, let's talk about it. How crazy was it? Well, let's talk about what was the least crazy game of the day so far. Let's start with Funplus Phoenix versus Damwon Gaming Kia. Super Carry Doinby could not show up today. You cannot understate how close this early game was, where Damwon Kia held control of the pace, waves, and kill lead. Funplus held neutral objectives and catapulted their win conditions much faster than Damwon. Funplus was at any given point actively answering Damwon's pace, and it may not have looked like that since Funplus began all of the notable fights. But Damwon Kia always had the setups and advantages regarding map states and land assignments that Funplus were forced into an improper and downright risky engage that were high risk for nominal rewards. That sentence was really long. Run on. And how can you make that better? Given the fact that Damwon was controlling the waves, the kill lead and everything else regarding that, but Funplus Phoenix was controlling the neutral objectives and were able to get the proper leads to their win condition. A lot of the way that you could convey who was in the lead during this time was a little bit more muddied. But Funplus technically had control of the pace of the game, even if it didn't look like it. Damwon was just in a position that was able to force them to create unfavorable team fights, scenarios, and or engages for Funplus that were in setups that were just for nominal rewards, for just regular, it was like high risk, medium reward instead of high risk, high reward, and so on, right? Now, both teams had impeccable vision play and map movement to the point where the major errors would be minute, but had huge implications for any fights or turret taking. Team fighting was also superb. Sadly, however, Doinby was the major focus of the damage that Funplus had. And this created a huge trough, a terrible scenario that made it so the team fighting became much weaker as the game scaled on, right? Damwon took full advantage of all these factors, leading them to close out the game cleanly the second they saw an opportunity to do so in a backdoor. I put backdoor in quotation marks in my notes, mostly because The setup that was being done was as a misdirect more than anything else. This wasn't like, oh, both teams are kind of like doing whatever. They were actively aware Funplus was trying to bait out a fight towards Baron, and they ignored it, saying, hey, this is not when you're supposed to actively try to create some bait. You do not have the wave pressure or any of the abilities to straight up look at us and say that we can threaten Baron without losing way more in the process. And this backdoor scenario, they took the turret and the inhibitor and managed to pull out a fight that cleaned out the entire team. And with it, Funplus Phoenix couldn't handle the setup. Damwon King played this very patiently and reserved, I find. It was mind me, this was a long set of games. How do I word this? There is a set way that Damwon likes to control how the game is supposed to be played out. That in this particular scenario, the fact that he had no control of the pace for a good majority of this game, and yet they still managed to create a scenario where Funplus had the wrong decision made. Great. Now, you can chalk that up to Funplus actively making the wrong decisions and Damwon taking advantage of it. Sure, if you want to interpret it that way, that's fine. But Damwon actively decided to say no to a lot of those scenarios and had already done much of the setup in terms of vision and wave manipulation that whatever Funplus was going to throw at them would not have succeeded regardless. With that, Damwon Kia wins and are 4-0 and secure sole first seed going to quarters. And Funplus Phoenix are 2-2. Next, we have Cloud9 versus Rogue. The hope is still there. The hope is still here. The groups are still interesting. But don't get your hopes too high. Not yet. Let's start with Rogue, as they had a rough time contesting anything after their level 1 play. Honestly, it was a solid idea that was just not executed well. Trying to push C9's win condition behind early against a player that will always try to find plays anytime is a good idea, right? Force Blabber in a situation that he stays behind and he's still going to be a hard head about it. Team strategy-wise, that totally makes sense. But because they flubbed it, that scenario was flipped on them, and now their own win condition is behind, and they need to make risky, ill-advised plays to come back. See, Cloud9 recognized this very well and aimed to start shutting down the top side. Rogue is always attempting to cross-map answer Cloud9, but over time, Cloud9 win a little bit more in the trades, and they start compounding these like extra little trades of wins. Cloud9 trades up more often than not, and that compounds over time. And to the point where Cloud9 are just winning any team fight off of just gold difference. And the team fights are being played as like so much better this time by Cloud9. There's still those like inklings of moments where you can tell, right? Just up in the distance, they're trying to do the hero plays. But this time they're more patient, they're more reserved, they seem more coordinated this time. And I think that's the notable thing that really set off the mood for the rest of the day. Is that Cloud9 looked way more coordinated this time and on the same page. If you back that up with all the solid vision play they usually have, great map movement they're usually keeping up, solid wave manipulation that they usually have. Oh boy, did Cloud9 deliver this game. And like, At this point, the day was not done. This was a pace where Cloud9 had to win at least 3 games. At least 3 games. So they had to do this 2 more times at the minimum. This was a hard ask. Because Cloud9 kicking the habit of being hero plays was great to watch at the time. And not expected. No one is expecting Cloud9 to, all of a sudden keep up this trend, to just keep going, right? It's you reserve yourself and you wait. And Rogue, on the other hand, their vision is still massively hurting them. They have a great set of ideas in terms of team fighting and their coordination for team fighting, but they massively lack in their wave manipulation and their vision, which hurts everything else that they want to do. Doing last minute vision for your neutral setups, even if your neutral setups are good, because your vision is last minute, you're actively working on negative information or on lack of information compared to your opponents. Like, come on. And lack of wave manipulation just means that you're just going to make plays, and then at some point, hopefully, you hope that the waves are in the right place. All in all, these are still the 2 lowest teams, and I didn't expect much by either team going through for the rest of the day. So, I wrote Cloud9 wins and are keeping their hopes for quarters alive. And Rogue, and Cloud9 go 1-3. And Rogue, 1-3 also, are not out, but quarters contentions are out of their control. Losing this game means they had no more control of whether or not they're going to get to quarters, minus winning their next game. They had to win at least 1 game, but it was out of their control at this point in my head because I didn't think they were going to win another game. So, that leads to Funplus Phoenix versus Cloud9. The hope is so strong, it's palpable. Yo, Funplus, what are you doing, guys? What's happening? Honestly, the lack of proactivity early in, mixed with the very slow responses to anything Cloud9 was doing cross-map, really compounds to the kinds of leads Cloud9 held up until 15 minutes. And yet, Funplus Phoenix were playing as much, or as if Cloud9 were going to overcommit at any given point, or create attempted hero plays. And instead, Cloud9 plays a very patient game. Mostly. And again, those inklings of hero plays are still there, but this is a much more reserved and composed Cloud9 today. No. They mean business today somehow. You can see moments of Cloud9 trying to create dives in areas like the mid-tier 1 dive that cost them a fight that went 1-0 for Funplus. But never did they ever let the pace of the game go for Funplus. In fact, they made sure that any attempts at a solid engage never presented itself, and they stopped whatever map movement Funplus Phoenix could have used. Now, Funplus on their side played very well, just way too passively. They had some solid wave manipulation, good punishes when the mistakes showed up, which showed up rarely, which is a rare sight for Cloud9. Then good vision. Unfortunately, it was very shallow vision, so the effectiveness is questionable. And it's really weird because, unfortunately, Funplus Phoenix played as if they were expecting Cloud9 to do the mistakes. They did the thing that I tell all emerging region teams that they're not going to succeed by doing. Teams that predicate their strategy on punishing instead of actively being proactive. Instead of being proactive? No. Like, what do you... This is a loss deserved and a win deserved also for Cloud9, because Cloud9 had taken a lot of the good traits that Funplus showed here, but they had aggressive vision, fantastic map movement, solid wave manipulation, and they were also punishing Funplus's frustrating engagements. Like the engagements they did out of frustration near the end of the game. And they pushed it far enough to keep the momentum and egg out a win here. Now, I do think that the attempt Cloud9 had at closing out a game was a little too risky. But they kept it measured, patient, controlled, coordinated even. And they were able to pull off the win of this game with one Baron. That was kind of incredible. And I'm starting to get the feeling that maybe Cloud9 is getting it. They still have to win at least one more game. At least. Part of this is also still kind of out of their control, but mostly in their control, which is good. So, Cloud9 wins and are 2-3 and still in control of their quarters qualification. And Funplus Phoenix are also 2-3. Also still alive for quarters, but are now in a losing streak. Doesn't look good. And so part of it is not completely in their control, but they still have control over quarters. Then how would that totally depends on, something totally depend on their next game. The next game of the series, that is Damwon Gaming Kia versus Rogue. Pentakill for Khan! Sorry. Rogue manages to keep an even game for 15 minutes, doing global trades, both sides having solid vision for the objectives they are aiming for. It's really new for Rogue to have some good vision. Over time, however, every small misstep, any neutral objective difference, tiny map movement difference accumulated to the point where Ghost and Khan became so fed that teamfights were really difficult to contest. And the gold ballooned by the 30-minute mark so much that teamfighting was just not a wise decision for Rogue. Now, I think it was unwise of Damwon to play on such thin margins for so long, creating unnecessary trades when they could have mitigated any potential lead for Rogue, playing on such close margins, relying on teamfights and expecting misplays, and using a composition that requires heavy early leads and side lane focus is a little reckless and looked more like a limit test of team fighting rather than a thought out plan. This game looked close for very long until it definitely stopped looking close. And you can point out to a bunch of moments of Ghost getting those couple of kills and then boom, 2,000 gold lead swing. Or the pentakill that Khan got. Or any given moment where the team fight happened and one of those two players swing the gold lead in their favor by such a massive amount. This is a game that literally looks like a how to team fight with very difficult tools on hand. And I don't like seeing these kinds of games. This very much felt like they were picking for lane setup and comfort first and foremost, or they were picking for limit testing what they were capable of. And it's really unfortunate because It's not like Rogue. I've lauded that both Rogue and Cloud9 were the two worst teams out of the 16 teams remaining. But this is still like the closest world championship we've had ever, I want to say. Maybe since season 2, but that's like a mixed bag and how people remember that. And so like all of these teams are capable of inking out any margin and taking advantage of it and running wild. And Rogue had those moments where they straight up took favorable fights and worked with it. The unfortunate matter is that Rogue still has the same problems that plagued them. They had great vision early in, but they have a harder time keeping it up as the game goes along. They don't do the wave manipulation properly. And so whenever they gain any fights, it's really hard for them to set up anything else to like snowball or a balloon any gold lead or any particular other types of lead that they could have amassed from it. And they're not very good at holding on to pace. This pretty much just leads to Damwon winning a fight because it's Damwon at the end of the day. And it's a very unsatisfying type of game to watch. It's also very unsatisfying to see a team go into the best of 5 brackets into quarters with that kind of mentality under their wing in a way that could seriously have cost them, or in ways that could seriously cost them games in the future. I don't think it was a massively good idea for the type of composition. Otherwise, Damwon played this near like to perfection as much as they can with a composition that's ridiculous. That's pretty much it. With that, Damwon Kia wins and are 5-0, keeping up close to their perfect 6-0, being another 6-0 run this year. And Rogue are 1-4 with so little in their control, hoping that Damwon Kia beats Cloud9 and they require a win against Funplus Phoenix, a thing that I did not expect at the time. And speaking of which, next we have Rogue versus Funplus Phoenix. Guys, what's happening? This is honestly a weird back and forth game. They have both teams have similar win conditions and approaches to the game. Good things both teams did. They both recognize small windows of opportunity and play around the vision denial. Vision play was passable for either team depending on the situation, but not great. Not a thing I would be like, it's great. But the vision denial itself, playing around the fog of war, was really strong from both sides. And using said vision denial to create like good team fighting options, or constantly trying to trade up for global objectives or globally around the map, or to try to contest objective when it's needed. There's some interesting, really solid stuff in terms of like how each team were going tit for tat in their approaches to this like first 15 to 20 minutes. Things that are not so good. I mean, having to wait for trades to do anything, relying solely on team fights with narrow margins to advance the game, not properly focusing on wave manipulation or mismanaging your map movement. Neither team were playing much of the fundamentals well, which is really bizarre for Funplus of all the teams. A team that people kept reiterating were a favorite for the whole tournament. They didn't play like this at all during their playoffs. This is such a weird, bizarre jump going into the group stage. And they're just not doing their fundamentals like they used to. They're practically playing for laning phase first and foremost. Now, in the end, Rogue found more margins of victories in the long run, and Funplus Phoenix attempted to close out the game on a high-risk play that cost them the chance to regroup and to gain more momentum later. To be specific, it's that attempt at base rushing when Rogue was baiting Baron. It was not smart. And now you would be thinking, but Sam, didn't Damwon do that earlier? Didn't she say that was great? There's a difference here. The wave was not set up properly to be able to push. And Funplus was trying to bait with hesitation, while Damwon had gone to take something and had gained advantages and set up to gain more advantages later on. Funplus did none of those things. This was an attempt at double faking out the Baron play, and then they lost. It's that one decision cost them the game. Now, yes, Rogue did have the gold lead the entire game, but the way the Funplus Phoenix were playing around objectives and fights made it apparent that Rogue don't know what to do with gold leads. Rogue play like they're behind in their objectives or gold leads, and as such they were playing overly cautious and not properly controlling the pace of the game. And I think that's a part of the things that really cost Rogue all the previous ones. It's really hard to look at it retrospectively, but Rogue don't know how to play with gold leads. And the casters had mentioned this. They tend to have a harder time properly capitalizing on their gold leads. But I don't think they actually know how to play with any lead. I think they're just always playing as if they're behind. And that's a mentality that's playing not to lose instead of playing to win. So, Rogue still managed to win due to the mistake that Funplus did near the end of the game. And are 2-4. Funplus Phoenix are 2-4 also. And both teams now are at the mercy of the C9 of the Cloud9 versus Damwon Kia match for a chance at a 3-way tiebreaker or elimination. What timeline are we in? What is this timeline? What the heck is happening? Cloud9 versus Damwon Kia. This is the game that will decide tiebreaker. Oh boy. There's an Omni Stone. I don't know why top laners do this. Top laners, stop doing this. Stop doing Omni Stone. Please, just please, please stop. Anywho, the Omni Stone had barely any implication to the rest of the game. I think it had a negative connotation to the way that they had to approach laning phase, but after that, just whatever. Now, this was an incredibly close game. Both teams were playing proactive across the map, doing anything to avoid plays that were won by margin. So they always were playing. They always made plays that had winning, trading up at any given point. This is similar to a tit for tat that happened with Rogue and Funplus, but instead, this is done in an intentional way that they're not trading small margins. They're trying to trade largely. The vision denial is solid. Neutral setup is great. Contests are all spectacular on any given point. They're not just randomly trading objectives. Sometimes they're contesting objectives in ways that make sense. They're not just running into places. And as usual, wave manipulation from both sides are super solid. And I think the difference here came down to the late game. Cloud9 started to fall apart and revert back to their old ways. And this was especially apparent once Showmaker hit level 16 with Kassadin. A hyper focus on him and the need to create hero plays reared its ugly head, causing C9 to become disjointed again, scattered, and lose complete control of the pace of the game. It also doesn't help that a Baron that could have secured a major lead had one major flub that stopped their momentum dead in their tracks and forced a whole hell of a lot of resets for Damwon. Now, Damwon Kia are also the most terrifying team to leave groups and head into quarters. Unrelenting aggression and control that is something to strive for. And they had this in spades across all of the roles. And so, like, it does not... I don't fault Cloud9 for, despite having looked so good so far, to have, like, faltered near this end of the late game when Damwon had played a very solid early to mid game, matching or surpassing Cloud9 in many fields, and Cloud9 doing their damnedest to push them to that limit, only for the win condition to have hit, and then Damwon is like, hey, we're the king of late games. We're just going to waltz in. We're going to do better than you at team fighting, and we know that you guys at some point, when the pressure is high, falter and start trying to make plays as heroes in any capacity that you can. And that's what happened. And Showmaker danced around them like it was a circus show. Look, you know what? If there's any way for Damwon Kia to go 6-0 undefeated, it's by showing that an up-and-coming Cloud9 have very much the same weaknesses still. You just have to bring it up in a different way. And they go as one of the few undefeated teams in groups history. And then Cloud9 go 2-4. That forces a 3-way tie for second place and tiebreakers for a seat at quarters. Leading up to our first tiebreaker match. Funplus Phoenix versus Rogue. Tiebreaker. So those who don't know, the fastest average winning time determines who gets to have the penultimate game to get to the next round, and the two slower teams have to face it off. Why fastest? Well, you're usually more efficient if you're faster, and thus better usually. Best of ones are kind of hard for a metric, but this is the best they can do, and I'm not going to complain about it because it makes it easier than flipping a coin. So what happened? The Phoenix has fallen. I repeat, the Phoenix has fallen. The bizarre nature of seeing Funplus Phoenix hold tempo early game, but misplay each step of the way, only for Rogue to swoop in and punish, would have been one thing. But for Rogue to then play around their leads and win conditions so smoothly from mid to late game is actually rather spectacular. Funplus looked the most disjointed, confused, behind the pace, tempo to mid lane, mid game, like mid to late game, and overall super overeager. This is the most I've seen them look this just frazzled the entire year. This is a team that's been so consistently solid from like spring to now, and today they looked like a mess. And they looked like they were nervous about losing the entire time. I'm just here, just totally frazzled about the whole thing. Now, Rogue, on the other hand, still struggle to play the vision game properly, and are still setting up their neutrals a little sloppily. But they're opting into fights now that they know they can win, and doing so well. Instead of just playing as if they're always losing and behind and just kind of waiting for things to happen, they actively took a role into their victory. Now, If you add all of that with some solid wave management, which is a first for them in this particular time, some stellar team fighting in general, Rogue played way better than ever in this one game when it really mattered at that point. And this is quite honestly, and I'm gonna say this as like as much as I can, I think that even if I wanted to say in my position as some lowly schlub, all right, in the middle of nowhere in Canada, with no insider knowledge of everything, right? Knowing that I had placed Rogue and C9 in 16th and 17th place out of 22 teams, and we're expecting them to get dumpstered by Funplus, they didn't just win a game because Funplus were like, oh, suddenly so bad. No, I think Funplus, even in their current state, probably would have egged out a win if Rogue did not perform today. This was not a scenario where Funplus threw games. Rogue outplayed them from the start. And that's something to commend, especially going into the next game, which we'll talk about. Rogue eliminated the second seed from China, the team that was considered to be the favorites of the summer split and almost were champions for both. This is a feat. You should commend yourselves, Rogue. Incredible. Fantastic. Loved it. So you know what? With all of that, you eliminate the Phoenix. They don't rise from the ashes. And you steal, like a bunch of rogues, the chance for Funplus to go on to the quarters and get your own as you win and are now 3-4. You're going to be facing off against Cloud9 for the deciding tiebreaker. And Funplus, you go 2-5 and are eliminated from Worlds. And with that, 15 teams remain. And we go on to the next and final tiebreaker of the day. Cloud9 versus Rogue. I'm not going to lie. This was a really difficult game to watch. Now, I could talk about the early game and how timid both teams were for some reason, or how neutral setups were poorly done by Cloud9, or how the vision game again was hurting Rogue, and how it was hurting their ability to move around the map, or how C9 showed even more of their disjointed hero plays for some reason this game. None of these things mattered. This is a game that went to an hour long. There was 4 Fire Drakes stacked on Cloud9's side. 7 dragons total. 3 Barons. And I want to paint this narrative for you, okay? You're 56 minutes into the game. 56? I don't know. You're like 50 some odd plus minutes to the game. There's one Rise ultimate into a lone bush on the dragon side of mid lane, with Vulcan waiting there to find 5 rogue members showing up to contest an Elder Drake they have no business contesting, get blown up, barely survives, and then Cloud9 jump in, peeling away from the Drake to just out team fight in a moment of coordination that needs to happen here, or the game is lost. And then Cloud9 came out 4 strong after an ace. Barrel down the ruined base of Rogue after they had thrown the game over and over again with egregious mistakes and nerves. Both sides fought long and hard, and Cloud9 wins. Now, the casters and the analyst desk kept throwing up, like, no European team has ever lost a tiebreaker going out of groups, and Cloud9 only wins tiebreakers when it comes to getting out of play-ins, and so on and so forth. I'm like, there's historical precedence to all that. There's historical precedence to looking at Funplus and expecting them to win. So, it's super disappointing. Mind you, this is a fun game to watch, but it is a long game to watch, and is an extremely frustrating game to watch. After seeing Cloud9 and Rogue in a bunch of games now, really show up and delivered in ways that no one else expected, for them to revert back to their regular habits is not a great taste in my mouth. By all means, watching this live was more exciting. Watching it as a VOD might not be, unless you're watching them all in order. If you're watching them all in order, it's great. It's a great time. I was on the edge of my seat. I was literally just like breath held the entire time. But the mistakes that plagued Cloud9 for most of the play-ins and groups showed up here and weren't a good sign to show. Same thing with Rogue. The entirety of the entire time, the way that they played during their time in groups showed up again here in full force. And I think that it's really unfortunate, because I think this would have been the time for them to buckle down and give us a good show for going into quarters, to show that they didn't just get in because Funplus is the one that threw. Because I don't believe that. Not in this case. No, I think that this was an incredible show from Cloud9 for day 4. Incredible. And with that, Cloud9 wins. They go 3-4 in groups and qualify for quarters. And Rogue go 3-5 and are eliminated from Worlds. And with that, only 14 teams remain. So what are my thoughts? Well, shit, this was an exciting game. Now, my prospects for this is that, like, I don't expect Cloud9 to get to the finals. And I expect Damwon to get to the finals. Heck, that's what I picked to be the winner of the entire thing. But, you know, I'm in a situation where, like, I've seen Cloud9, once they get to best of fives, pull out very interesting and surprising moments that no one expected. And by all means, if they make it to the semifinals, the entire channel of Vision Denial is going to honor the deal that we made with each other. We're going to get Cloud9 jerseys. 100%. 100%. I don't expect it to happen. They have, given the fact that they showed that they can do for 2 games. For 2 games, they managed to show that they were able to be coordinated and not disjointed or try to do hero plays the entire time and not rely on just having a massive wallet to win. And they only did that for 2 games. And on the last game where it mattered the most to show it, they win off of a team fight 56 minutes in. And then I have to look at the number 1 seeds in every other group. What happens if they face Mad Lions? If they face anyone from Group D, maybe they make it through. But I don't think so. Group D seems to be a much more consistent group to their strengths. What if they face Edward Gaming? Not a chance. Not a chance. Edward Gaming would never give them the opportunity. Right? What if, and then you're like, what about PSG? Closer maybe, but PSG are monsters in best of fives. Like, there are very small margins here that are left for me to be convinced that Cloud9 is going to be doing well in best of fives. Now, I said something similar regarding them getting out of groups. And they can they have a long time now to rest and find out who they're going to face off against and prepare. And if they squeak out the little parts of them that are like inconsistent regarding like team fighting and coordination specifically, and stopping trying to do like extra hero plays, or perks can like calm down and not get caught out as often, it is totally doable. I don't have the confidence for it to happen. Not in any way, shape, or form. So, what about Damwon? I have the utmost confidence they'll make it to the finals. Granted, like, my confidence in them making the finals is not a guarantee. No, by no means. I thought Top Esports was going to win the entire thing last year, and then Suning, oh, thank goodness, managed to upset that scenario. And I loved it. It was great. But, like, again, this year, just because it is expected does not mean it'll happen. But given the way this team played this year, and have played from, like, almost consistently high level the entire year. They had a little bit of a drop off in the summer, but like there's like very few teams right now that I think would be able to contest against Damwon Kia in the form that they have, and the fact that Khan is playing way better than he has his entire year, that Showmaker is the most consistent he's ever been. And like even the bot lane out of like Damwon Kia having been super like the weak point is literally just them playing lane phase consistently and showing up and doing their job. At no point do I think that they are an actual weak link. They are maybe not the strongest bot lane of the tournament, but at no point do I think that they're going to be like they make the team lose a game from it. And Canyon's just Canyon. Just saying. So, I think Cloud9 might lose their first quarters. If they win, awesome. But I'm going to say that likely Damwon will make it through all the way to the finals. And I think that Cloud9 did spectacularly well and much better than expected, which might quell or might help people reimagine or recontextualize how they view the next 3 days. I don't know. You all let me know in the comments down below if you want. You guys let me know what you think about the days so far. Did you expect this to be the timeline that we have? Did you expect a single North American team to make it through? I didn't. I didn't expect any Western team to make it out of groups other than from Group D. And this is incredible. Totally wrong. And like I love being wrong in this way, minus the last game of the day. These were fantastic games. I appreciate all of you who watch. I really do. You guys are fantastic. If you enjoyed the video, like and subscribe with everything. We couldn't get probably another Vision Denial episode done today, but we will for sure get one working for the end of groups. And by the time the quarterfinals start happening, we'll probably have the whole gang here, hopefully. And with that, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow for Group B's final day. Yes.